After all the wonderful engagement I got on my top 10 puzzles video, I wanted to make another puzzles video but in a tier list version, and I was looking for weeks and weeks and I could not find a solid tier list of the Resident Evil puzzles, so I decided to go and make my very own tier list on the Resident Evil puzzles. This list consists 30 of the best puzzles in the mainline Resident Evil games, including Code Veronica X. I made this template public on the Tier Maker app, so feel free to go and use this for yourselves if you want to. I wanted this list to start at the oldest RE games and move up to the newest, but this list ended up inverting what I had in mind, so we're going to go ahead and start with the newest and work our way down to the oldest game. The animal painting gallery is a very strong start to this tier list video, and I'm going to go ahead and put it right up there in the S rank because I think that this is probably the most challenging puzzle that we have ever gotten in a DLC of a Resident Evil game. This entire list of puzzles is going to be ranked on which ones are the most difficult in the series, and I think this one is pretty difficult, so I'm going to leave it in the S rank. Now this next one is going to be going down here in the D rank, and it is the Sluice color pattern from Resident Evil 8. This one's actually a nice little chill puzzle that isn't that difficult, which is why I'm going to put it down at the bottom in the D rank because it is not that hard. I've beaten this game a handful of times every now and then, but I haven't played this game too seriously, so I've never really mastered this puzzle, but whenever I do play the game, I do seem to get past it relatively easily, so I'm definitely going to put it down in the D rank because it is a pretty easy puzzle. Now this next one is a really unique puzzle that we got in Resident Evil 8, so I am going to actually put it in the A rank, but I was tempted to put it in the B rank. But I'm going to put it in the A rank because this one was actually a really unique puzzle that required you to go all around House B and Vito trying to look for these clues and parts to get the Mia mannequin doll solved. There's actually a whole lot of different things that the game has you doing to try and solve this Mia mannequin, and when you finally get it completed, you get thrown into quite possibly the scariest part of the entire game, which is the giant baby. But now we are going to be wrapping up the Resident Evil 8 puzzles, and this one is one of the first puzzles that is thrown at you in the Resident Evil 8 campaign, and that is the blood pool. This one is going to be going in the B rank because I think it's a good middle one to put in this tier list because it is kind of difficult with trying to line up all these statues and trying to find out what the hint actually means because I couldn't make sense of it, so I was eventually just kind of moving statues around and pretty much guessing until I finally got it. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up the puzzles for RE8, and now we'll be moving on to RE7, and we will be starting with the wrecked ship paintings. I really did not have fun playing the wrecked ship portion of Resident Evil 7, and I do recall that this puzzle was actually pretty easy because all you have to do is rotate these puzzles around and line them up to the correct pattern. It's a not so fun puzzle that's already inside of a not so fun section of this game, so this one is easily going to be going down here in the D rank. The next puzzle in Resident Evil 7 is going to be the projector puzzle. This one is going to be our first one that's going to be going down in the C rank, as it's not that difficult of a puzzle, but it does take a little bit of gameplay skill and some hand-eye coordination. There's actually more than just one of these projector puzzles, so I think it's kind of solid to put it in the C rank because it's not like you only have to deal with this one once. The last puzzle of Resident Evil 7, and the only puzzle in RE7 that in my opinion makes the S rank, is the Happy Birthday puzzle. When making my top 10 puzzles video, I got a lot of criticism because people were complaining about this puzzle being rather easy and not that hard, but I've played this game a couple of different times before and each time I seem to struggle, so I think it's pretty hard. Now moving on to everyone's favorite Resident Evil game, RE6. This is one of the easier puzzles on this list, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in the C rank, but only because I actually did struggle a couple of times on this one, and I remember playing this game and actually having to spend a couple of minutes until I finally figured out how to get past this door code. All you have to do is wait to watch one of the Javo enter the code and then just enter the same code, and then that's easy as that. Next up is in what my opinion is probably the hardest, most elaborate puzzle inside Resident Evil 6, and it is in Ada's campaign. The Hangman puzzle has 3 different stages, with you needing to shoot down a corpse so it can land on the lever, and getting all the corpses to stand in the electricity thing, and even being able to shoot all of the corpses up against the wall so that the trap floor doesn't fall. Next up is another pretty good puzzle in Resident Evil 6, so I'm going to put it in the A rank as well, and that is the Cathedral puzzle. This one also has a lot of complicated stages to it, which when I was playing for the first time had me absolutely clueless as to what to do, which is something that usually doesn't happen in RE6 because they've got arrows and stuff that point you into your direction of what you're supposed to be doing. But I didn't know you had to aim your gun at the lights to light them up and open the doors or shoot the bells or anything, so that one was hard for me. But this next one is going to be just barely making its way into the A rank, and that is the laser puzzle from Resident Evil 5. I put this one in the A rank because this one is by far the most challenging puzzle in RE5, but I've played this game so many times before in the past, and I've actually tried to memorize and master this puzzle. So as someone who has over 500 hours on this game, I would say it's safe to say that this puzzle is a lot easier for me now than it was when I first started playing this game. It is pretty hard if you're new to the game, and if you make one wrong move, it could result in instant death for you or your teammate. When I was making this tier list, I tried to find something from every single RE game, and unfortunately I could only find 2 different puzzles from RE5. RE5 is my all-time favorite Resident Evil game, but I have never realized just how much this game was shorted out on puzzles, which is something that the classic Resident Evil games always had. This Statue Ruins one is just going to go in the D rank because it's not that complicated. The only challenging one is when you have to separate from your teammate to go downstairs and pull the other lever. This next one is going to be starting us off on Resident Evil 4, and it's going to be the electronic lock terminal, which I went ahead and put in the A rank because this one was actually really hard. When ranking this puzzle, I'm definitely going according to the RE4 remake because they actually changed this puzzle quite a bit from the original and made it a lot more challenging. This next one is going to be going at the very top of the B rank, and it is the Treasury Swords, which is the puzzle found in the castle section of RE4 remake. This one is actually a really solid one to put in the B rank just because it was semi-difficult, especially when you were playing on your first playthrough. But as you can see, you've got to put all the swords in the wall in the correct spot, and to get this sword specifically, you've got to be able to shoot all the logos in the correct order to get all of them to light up and eventually open the door. This next one is a pretty good puzzle as well in Resident Evil 4, so I'm going to go ahead and put it at the top of the C rank, and that is the church dial window puzzle. As a matter of fact, this one serves as the very first puzzle of RE4, and I think is a really solid puzzle to start you off with your playthrough to get you prepared for all the rest of the puzzles in RE4. It's the very same puzzle that opens the door that helps you get to Ashley. But now we are definitely starting to get into the more classic Resident Evil games, and we're also getting into the game that has the most difficult puzzles in all of Resident Evil, and that is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. This water sample puzzle from RE3 is going to be going at the very top of the S rank because if you guys watch my top 10 puzzles video, you would see that I put that as the hardest puzzle of all time. The next puzzle in Resident Evil 3 is going to be the clock tower paintings, which I am also going to be putting in the S rank right next to the other one because this one is also very difficult. I always solve this one by process of elimination because there is 3 stones that they give you and you got to put them in the correct clocks. So simply what I do is I would put the obsidian ball in the middle clock and then I would put the other ones on the left and right, and if that doesn't work then I'll swap the outer ones, and if that doesn't work then I will swap the center one with the amber ball, and then I will repeat that process. But still, not many puzzles in RE have you doing stuff like that, so I'm definitely going to be putting it in the S rank, and we will be moving on to the last puzzle of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, and that'll be the oil station puzzle. There is so many different solutions and scenarios to RE3 that when you even try to look up a walkthrough or a solution to this puzzle, you will be found with probably some other different solution, and then you will be finally forced to try and just figure this out all on your own. This one is also solved by a process of elimination, but you've got a hint because you've got 3 lights right there in the top right corner, and if they're all lit up, then that means you're doing the right thing. When making this tier list, I wanted to have 30 puzzles in here, so that is pretty much why I included Code Veronica X. So therefore, we will be jumping into CVX, and we will be talking about the paperweight puzzle. I was very tempted to put this one in the A rank, but I went ahead and put it at the top of the B rank, and this one isn't even the hardest puzzle in CVX. This puzzle is done in Alexia's lab, and your hint is that you gotta look at the paperweight with all of the logos on them, and then you gotta go ahead and go up to the dresser thing and press all of those buttons in hopefully the right combination. And if you manage to do so, the drawer will open up and you can then put the paperweight inside of it. This next puzzle in Code Veronica X is also kind of around the same difficulty as the other puzzle, so I'm gonna put it in the B rank as well. And that is the military drawer. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this one, but if you actually do complete this puzzle, it will unlock you Steve Burnside in Resident Evil Battle Mode, and I was really determined to get all of the top scores with the characters in Battle Mode, so I was on an absolute mission to complete this puzzle. It's a complete guessing game between green, blue, and red, but make sure you don't hit brown because that's the drawer that you need to open up last. But this puzzle right here is definitely going to be by far the hardest puzzle in Code Veronica X, at least in my opinion. The portrait room is going to be going up at the top of the S rank, second place to the water sample puzzle, because this one is certainly one of the hardest puzzles that I've ever completed in a Resident Evil game. There's a file at the end of the room, I believe, that will give you a hint on how to complete it, but if you don't have that file or you can't find it, that one is absolutely impossible to solve on your own. Now we're reaching some of the very first games in the Mainline series, and we are going to be jumping into Resident Evil 2 with the drug testing lab puzzle. When I made my top 10 puzzles video, I think a lot of people that watched the video actually underestimated just how easy this puzzle can be in the Resident Evil 2 remake. I platinumed this game pretty early on, so all I had really left to do for a while was speedrun this game, and after a lot of speedrunning and practicing, I found out that this solution was pretty easy. On A scenario, it's literally just blue, red, green 3 times in a row. Next up though is the chest plugs puzzle in RE2 Remake, and this one I put in the B rank just a little bit higher, almost at the top of the B rank, because this one is a little bit harder to remember just because there is 2 different scenarios and they change the outcome of this puzzle on each scenario. On the A scenario, it was the pawn, rook, and knight on the right side of the wall with the queen, bishop, and the king on the left side of the wall. But then B scenario changes it with pawn, queen, and king on the right, with bishop, rook, and knight on the left. Our last puzzle for Resident Evil 2 Remake, and also one of the more chill ones in RE2 altogether, is going to be the power panels. You do have to go on a little bit of a hunt for the parts of the power panels, and that can be a little bit hard, but then when you actually get to the power panels itself, it can be a little bit confusing to actually solve it, unless you're like a mechanic or something. Now we will be moving on to a fan favorite in the Resident Evil series, and that is RE1. The water pump room in RE1 Remake is going to be making its way about halfway into this S rank tier, because this one was definitely the hardest puzzle that I recall doing in RE1 Remake. I've only beaten this game probably about 5 or 6 times before, and I haven't played it in a couple years, so if I remember correctly, there's a certain set of buttons that you're supposed to press all around in this room to get the actual water pressure to go down, and I've actually died to this puzzle a couple times before, and it is very much not fun. Next up, going into the D rank on this, is going to be the guard dog statues, or also known as the weather vane puzzle. I do think this one's a pretty solid one to go down there in the D rank, because this one's actually pretty simple, with all you have to do is stop this so that the dog's statue can rotate to be facing the correct way, and there's only 4 possible ways that they can be facing. But the only thing that sucks is that that weather vane is moving awfully quick because of the wind, so you gotta be able to stop it at just the right time. But we will be moving on to our last puzzle of RE1, and it is a rather easy one, so I'll be putting it at the top of the C rank, and that is the stained glass puzzle. The main picture on the end here shows 3 colors, so you have to go around to the other paintings and turn them on until you find the 3 that are all orange, purple, and green. And pretty much it is that easy. But now we will be doing Resident Evil 0, which of course will be the first game in the Mainline series, so that is also the last entry for our puzzles tier list. I actually underestimated just how hard this puzzle is because I've never actually really attempted it myself without a walkthrough, and as a matter of fact, when I played, I used a walkthrough, which just goes to show how hard it truly is, because if it was any easier, I wouldn't have went for a walkthrough and a solution. So Resident Evil 0 is going to go ahead and take the animal statue puzzle as the hardest puzzle in RE0, but I think this one right here is probably the easiest puzzle in RE0 and also probably the easiest puzzle in this entire tier list, so I am going to be putting it at the very bottom of the D rank. The checkmate puzzle gives you the solution right at the desk, but this one is actually a little bit more challenging, and this is the emergency brake train puzzle. I'm not very good at math, so this one actually took me a couple of tries, and when I finally got it done, I actually felt very accomplished and at the same time kind of dumb for not being able to figure it out for that long. The emergency brake train puzzle will give you a different number depending on which playthrough you're playing, but you can get a number like 36 and you'll have to match it up with 10 attempts. So the goal is pretty much to get to 36 by adding up 10 different numbers, and I've never been good at stuff like that. But that's going to go ahead and wrap up my tier list of the Resident Evil puzzles. If you didn't get a chance to see my full list yet, then I am going to go ahead and go through each entry starting at the S rank and moving all the way down to the D rank. So at the S rank, and the hardest puzzle in the Mainline RE series, is the water sample puzzle, followed up by the portrait room, the animal statue, the clock tower paintings, the water pump room, the animal painting gallery, and the happy birthday puzzle. Now in the A rank, I have the oil station, the Mia mannequin, the electronic lock terminal, the hangman puzzle, the cathedral puzzle, and the laser puzzle. Now for the B rank, I have the paperweight room, the chest plug, the military drawer, the drug testing lab, the treasury swords, and the blood pool. Now in the C rank, I got the stained glass painting room, the power panel, the church dial window, the door code, the projector puzzle, and the emergency brake passcode. And down here in the easiest puzzles, I have the guard dog statues, the wrecked ship painting, the ruined statue room, the sluice gate color pattern, and the checkmate puzzle. Hopefully you guys all agreed with this list, but if not, let me know down in the comments what parts you guys disagreed with, and make sure you guys also let me know what kind of videos you want to see next. Very special shout out to my one and only YouTube Pro member, Ico Pro Sam. I post daily, so make sure you guys hit subscribe and hit the bell, and with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video tomorrow. Peace.